Yeah, you just sit.
Oh yeah.
Don't do that. Look funny.
Hello. Corporate job.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a bit? This knee is not stopping to shake, bro.
Karan, you have to tell me if this part of my hair looks funky, okay? Because it's like going twing. Like,
But if some client comes to you and she's like, Shravani, I want a fat ass. Okay. Hello,
actually,
mic
this should have been
testing.
recorded. This is like good.
This is recorded.
All right, guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I feel like I haven't said this in a very, very, very long time. But hopefully this is not going to be those one-off moments where I come here, create one episode and then leave. But today we're trying out something new. We are going to be having a really nice conversation on, I guess, health, fitness, nutrition, and a lot of stuff in between. Because my host for the day is my very good friend, Karan.
Hello.
The reason we decided to do this is because whenever Karan and I are at home or anywhere in any setting, हम लोग बहुत बातें करते हैं. In the sense that we can ramble on for 2 to 3 hours, and sometimes there's a lot of substance in these conversations. So hopefully we can create something fun. But Karan, do you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Karan. I'm Shravani's college friend. I'm like very into psychology and comedy, and I was her ex-client where she trained me. So we're just gonna talk about this random stuff. Like Shravani said, when the two of us sit together, we don't stop talking to the point that if we have to get work done, we don't sit together because we don't get anything done. But this is actually the best medium for that. So here we can just not shut up. Really.
But we've still told Tarun to give us like a
to direct us if we go off track.
All right, so let's get right into it.
Yeah.
You're the host. I don't know why I'm speaking like I'm the host.
Okay, so guys, let's get into it. So Shravani, you recently transitioned into the corporate field and now you have a job. So
why would you say it like that?
No, I don't mean it like that. I mean like you have a corporate job.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a bit? This knee is not stopping to shake, bro. So why don't you tell us a bit about what the job is like, the transition from your old job to this, and how whether you're struggling or you're doing well at managing both.
Okay, so a lot of people know that for the last 5 to 6 years, I was doing content creation, and also I was the co-founder of Team Meraki, which was a consultancy that my partner and I co-founded in 2020, bang in the middle of COVID, right? And I think it was always a dream of mine to have something I could call my own. And that's why I started it with an MBA, of course, but very little to no experience in running a business. But we learned so much along the way. And I think that was one of the most fulfilling chapters of my life. And closing that down and moving to corporate was a difficult but very well thought of decision. So when I decided to make that switch, it still took a little while for me to transition. And now I work for Danube Group. I am a social media specialist over there. And it is hectic, to say the least, but it's also incredibly fulfilling again, because there's a lot of content creation involved, which I think I'm a true creative by nature. So that comes naturally to me. Other than that, my schedule is pretty packed. Like yesterday I was at an event for 15 hours.
Yesterday we were supposed to meet. We had a plan to go out and eat and drink soft drinks. But she had an event from 8 a.m. to like 10:30 at night or something. So coming to my next question. Since your work schedule is so hectic, how do you manage the fitness aspect now? Or are you still trying to find a way, or have you found a way? What's your zone?
To be 100% honest, I am struggling.
Okay.
Because even though with entrepreneurship, you're always doing something, you still have more control over your time.
Yeah.
So I was able to commit to like a 5-day workout routine per week. I was able to really plan and track all of my meals. And now because of the nature of my job and because we have events over the weekend, sometimes it's hard to even get 2 to 3 workouts in, which for me is very frustrating, because I am someone who loves training. There's a certain amount of joy. It's not just for the aesthetics of it. I find a lot of happiness in it. Plus now I kind of understand. I empathize with a lot of people who have trained in the past who were working full-time roles, and
Right.
I never really understood why they couldn't
Manage
train
both.
for like
Right. So
5.
they like on your client calls, they would be like, the job is so hectic, I don't have
Yeah,
time.
and
But
I'm
you
like,
might be like,
everyone has the same 24
Yeah.
hours in the day. And now I'm like, okay, no, it couldn't be further away from the truth. So I think I do empathize a lot more with them. And currently, I think what I'm trying to do is to just do the best I can. So I make sure over the weekends, I at least go one of the days. And then on the weekdays, I'm trying to go about twice a week.
right. So for someone like you, I've known you for like 7, 8 years,
8 years, yeah.
at this point, and you have been someone who's been hardcore into fitness, like not just someone who visits the gym every now and then. It's like, I want to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And like most people don't make that choice. So for someone who made such an extreme move to now coming down to 2-3 times a week, and you've had like a lot of ups and downs and transformations and all of that, and you had one like last year as well, right? I mean, over the last
Yeah.
6-7 months and all of that. So that's a lot of self-imposed pressure to look a certain way. And when you want to try to keep up with that, and then when you have to suddenly bring that down
Yeah.
because of the lifestyle change, how do you deal with that in terms of mindset, food, temptation, and then maybe you might see that your body is not looking the way it used to,
Yeah.
even though you had put in all that work, and it can go like that.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with all of that?
So I think one thing that I do want to point out is how you look has so much more to do with, it has to do with more than just training and nutrition, right? So stress and sleep are very neglected factors in fitness, and that can have a direct impact on how you look, in the sense that if you are sleep deprived,
Yeah.
many of you may have noticed that you tend to look a little puffy and bloated.
Yeah.
And that happens to me as well. If you're stressed, also your body tends to hold on to a little more water. So that is one thing. See, the way that I approach this is I think about the factors I can control and those that I can't control. And if I can't control it, I don't stress about it.
Yeah.
I don't have control over my work schedule right now. But in the few hours that I get post work, am I maximizing those hours is something that I need to think about. And sometimes you're not physically tired, you're mentally drained. And in those moments, because I love the sport so much, or I have been training for almost a decade now, I'm able to get myself to the gym because I'm also able to chase that post-workout feeling. That being said, it is still tricky. I still have my days where I wake up and I think, I wish I could have done more. I wish I could be more on point with tracking, with training, all of that. But I think with time, I've just learned not to beat myself up and focus on the things I can control.
Okay. So this kind of reminded me of a question, because I've noticed this with a lot of people who, like, I'm naturally a skinny person, and I was your client for 6 months.
Yeah.
And if you're like a naturally skinny person, okay, you're skinny or you're thin and it can be annoying, but you never have to worry about being overweight or any of that, right? But if you start for a
Yeah.
few months and you're dedicated
Yeah.
and you see that change and then you stop,
Yeah.
then you actually can potentially become overweight, and then you have to deal with that. And as someone who's like I consider myself a like professionally lazy person. so like for me it's very easy to stop.
Yeah.
And because of that, then you put on a little weight and stuff. So then sometimes I think I'm like, if I never started at all,
Yeah.
that shit, like that stuff would have never happened.
Yeah.
So the point is, it has to be a permanent decision
Yes.
to always be a gym person if you want to look that way and you want to have a good physique.
Yeah.
For most people, some people are just genetically best, but that's the minority.
Yeah.
So how do you get people to like decide that it has to be a permanent change?
Yeah. I think that's a very important point, because a lot of people, even in the past, right, my clients, some of them would come to me saying, I have a wedding in 6 months. I have to attend a wedding, or it's my wedding in 6 months, and I want to look a certain way. I want to shed 10 kilos.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's not impossible. 6 months mein 10 kilos ghatana is, you can do it, but it's how you do it that matters. And a lot of people say that they want to lose 10 kilos, but that's not their actual goal. They want to lose the 10 kilos of fat and keep it off long term.
Yeah.
And no one really talks about that long term part of it. So I guess the sooner you accept that fitness is it's a lifelong thing, the easier it gets. The moment you set timelines to it, and then you set expectations to those timelines, and your body just doesn't change the way you want it to, that's when a lot of people throw in the towel.
Yeah.
So I've also come across people who, let's say, have a big goal, right, of losing, say, 20 to 30 kilos. And if you tell them it's going to take 3 to 5 years, they're like, it's too long. You know, the process of delaying...
Sorry, I said that's what she said. Sorry.
The process of delaying gratification is not something that people are able to do. And the way that I like to see it, or the way that I used to tweak my clients' minds, is I used to tell them the time is going to pass anyway. So you've got to decide what you're going to do with it. So 3 to 5 years later, you could be a completely different person. That is one thing. That is the mindset side of it.
Sorry, that I just want to ask one question to the 3 to 5 years thing you said. As a business person who has to, I mean, of course you want to help your clients, but you also have to run a business.
Yeah.
Sometimes you know that by telling someone 3 to 5 years, you might lose them.
Yeah.
So do you ever say, and to make someone engaged about sticking to something, you need to get them to see some sort of immediate progress.
Yeah.
So would you sometimes tell them something which gives them more instant motivation, because you know you might lose them, a good potential client.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of rope them in and then gradually sell them on the long-term plan.
Yeah.
Would you do anything like that?
So what I would do is I would never lie. I would set expectations straight. Okay. I would tell them, okay, if this is your eventual goal, it's going to take you some time to get there. But what we used to do is we used to shift the burden to performance goals rather than just physique goals. So let's say the physique goal is long term losing 20 kilos. I would tell them, let's focus on the first 2.
Okay.
So I was able to set like a target for them, which they would see in the app. And every time they got closer to it, like the bar sort of started filling up.
Okay.
So that was like, one thing that kept them going. But also I would ask them, if you went to the gym today, let's say you struggled with a lat pull down, you couldn't even do 10 kgs on that. But like 6 to 8 weeks later, after following that structured program, they're able to do 20 kgs.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't realize it or we don't appreciate it enough. But then when I put that focus on those performance goals, they started finding joy in training.
Right.
So that, I think, helps them stick to the plan long term.
Right. And I think that's important because in this like Instagram day and age, it's all about the aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it's all about, I want to look a certain way. I mean, also so that I can post that online and like it looks good. And okay, I'm lifting this much, which is an improvement.
Yeah.
But I still don't see the physical change.
Yeah.
So would you have clients who would struggle with that? Like, would you have people who would have a hard time adopting this performance metric if they don't see the physical change?
Yes. So every client is different, right? I think what you expect out of your fitness journey, I may not expect the same things. For me personally, when I started, yes, aesthetics was a part of it. But over time, performance became more important.
Yeah.
Like today, if I could sign up for, let's say, High Rocks, which is trending right now, right? Like if I could sign
What
up.
is High Rocks?
It's like there are multiple stations, okay? It's like a circuit.
It's not rock climbing, right?
No.
Oh, I know.
Let's say you do a sled push for a certain distance, then you run 1 kilometer. You do a sled pull, then you run 1 km. You do burpees, you run 1 km. It's like that. It's a very, you do wall balls and then you run 1 km. So it's very intense, okay? It's like an endurance-based circuit.
Okay.
Which I don't think I can do right now, okay? But I would love to, train for that.
Yeah.
Because the way I see it, and I always tell my clients this, a fit body or the aesthetic you're after is simply a byproduct of your training.
Okay.
Right? So if you train for performance, if you train like an athlete, you're going to look like an athlete with time.
Right.
But if you start with this goal of I want a 6-pack with no other vision, with no other intent than just validation.
Yeah, which is a lot. Like,
Yeah.
again, this is like, I'm paraphrasing the same question.
Yeah.
But if some client comes to you and she's like, Shravani, I want a fat ass. Okay. And
Do
like,
you think you could rephrase that in a nicer way?
Shravani, I want a muscular glute. I want a muscular gluteus maximus
Yeah.
for my Insta,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of people want.
Yeah, why not? There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. But I'm just saying it shouldn't be your only goal. You know why? Because if it doesn't happen quickly enough, you're going to lose motivation. You're going to be like, what is the point?
Right.
So you have to find joy in, like, fitness is multifaceted. Faceted.
Yeah. Don't spit on these expensive mics, bro.
It's multifaceted, right? So it's not just how you look. Or even sometimes I've noticed with clients, right? They're losing weight, they're losing fat, but they're like, yaar, pet kam nahi hua hai. But the thing about fat loss is there's no such thing as spot reduction. So then I always tell them to take pictures. And this is for anyone, whether you have a coach or not.
Yeah.
Take pictures regularly and flex in all of these pictures, because you will start seeing changes in areas where you never thought possible. I think when I was training Karan, I'm going to pop up some pictures from that time.
Yeah,
He had one
you
of the
can
craziest.
like CGI it, like make the muscles bigger.
No, but you looked amazing at the end of 6 months, and I know how
you.
many eggs you ate
Oh,
to get.
bro. Oh, man. Dude, that was difficult because I'm like at home, I'm predominantly vegetarian.
Yeah.
But this high protein stuff, you have to protein. Dude, 6 months, my life was protein. And
Yeah.
again, I don't want to like put out the wrong image, but it's a necessary macro which is
Yes.
not predominant in a vegetarian diet. And as someone who doesn't eat non-veg at home, the only source of protein besides protein powder I was having at home was eggs.
Yeah.
And man, I had a lot of eggs.
You were
bro.
having what, 6 eggs a day?
6 eggs a day. Well, I was just doing the math. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
And you
Because-
also had one of those high protein, was it Laban or?
Yeah, it's so like people in UAE probably know it's called Nada, which has like 30 grams of protein.
Yeah.
And you will fart, bro. Like it, dude. I would, and sometimes if my protein target
Yeah.
was too much for the day and I was so far off, I would just drink 2 of
Yeah,
those, which
yeah.
is 60 grams of protein in like a 600 ml drink.
Yeah.
Which is very uncomfortable for the body. So
Correct.
I would bloat a lot. And I would just like, I would have 2 eggs with breakfast. And again, 2 eggs is not much,
Yeah.
but 2 eggs with breakfast, 2 eggs with lunch, 2 eggs with dinner. And I'm a slow eater. So I want something which is like quick to eat. So
Yeah.
I'd have boiled eggs. So I was having a lot of boiled eggs. And as a slow eater who's anyway eating a lot more,
Yeah.
I would be the last one on the table, and my dad would just see me eating eggs all the time. And one day he came to me, he's like, Karan, eggs are gonna grow out of your ears. Like it was non-stop. Because that's all they saw me do. And the thing is, this was during peak COVID, right?
Yeah.
So I was at home all the time, just eating and working out
yeah.
and in the building gym. And yeah, I was doing this thing you said, taking pictures.
Yeah.
Which if my mom was your client, by the way, you would never be able to tell her progress because she takes horrible pictures.
But you would take her pictures for her.
Yeah, I guess I could.
Yeah.
I guess I could. So yeah, that actually brings me to the next question, which I'm sure you've had to deal with, which is how do you help clients with the whole dietary element, especially if they're like predominantly vegetarian?
Actually, before I answer that, I want to ask you a question. So, like you said, there were times where you were uncomfortably full.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who are naturally lean or
Yeah.
on the skinnier side don't know just how much you need to eat to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess on the other side, like people who are on the heavier end of things, again, like, because for me also it's easier to put on weight than it is to lose weight.
Yeah.
So I always used to think, when I cut my calories down, it's so much harder because I have to deal with the feelings of hunger,
Yeah.
which is very hard to distract your mind from. But I still am able to lean on high volume foods. Like I can have a bowl of corn,
Yeah.
chaat bana ke main kha leti hu, and it keeps me full and it keeps me going. So there are a lot of tricks that we can use in a deficit. But when you're trying to build muscle and you're in that kind of a surplus, it's like, was there ever a moment where you had to almost force feed yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Because I was eating so much more food than I'm used to. And even after doing that, I would send it to you and you're like, that's not enough.
Yeah.
So it took a while to get used to. And then, of course, your body recomposition happens. And then you get used to that change in diet and your body also gradually responds.
A lot of people have this misconception that you should only be thinking about protein if you're working out. First of all, that's not true.
Yeah.
Protein does more than just build muscles in your body.
Yeah.
So you need to have an adequate amount of protein per day, irrespective of whether you're training or not. Second, with this, bulking up thing, I think a lot of women also go through this where they're like, I want to start training, but I don't want to look too bulky. Man, I've been trying to build muscle for 10 years and it's not that easy. Even if you really, really, really want to get bulky or you want to build enough muscle such that you can see that volume on your body, it's probably going to take years, maybe decades of dedication to eating like that, like being uncomfortable, whether that's being hungry or feeling like you have to force feed yourself consistently, also doing a progressive overload at the gym. And what I'm trying to say is you need a lot of intent to build that kind of body. So if you're naturally lean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to look like that, but understand it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And understand that it's going to be very, 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 very difficult. And it's usually when things get super hard that a lot of people go like, I don't really care that much about the goal anyway.
But maybe that's also because most people who get into the gym are in their 20s.
Yeah.
And they're doing it for the look. But
Yeah.
they're not thinking about long term and health. They're just thinking about, I'm working out so much. It's so difficult to look a certain way. But they're not thinking that what I'm doing right now is going to make life easier 40 years from now.
Yeah.
So maybe that's an interesting, or like
way to look at
the
it.
Whoop you're wearing, right?
Yeah.
This is always like a constant. I'm like, this will reinforce I think the long-term goals, right?
See, I think what has happened is over the last 5 to 10 years, Instagram has grown
Yeah.
quite a lot. Fitness culture has grown. Fitness influencers are plenty,
Yeah.
right? So all of them have amazing bodies. Of course, it's a result of their dedication.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is a lot of people see this, want it, but are not willing to put in that same kind of work to get there. And that's where the disappointment starts. Unfortunately, Instagram is a place where jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have influencers there talking about like longevity
Yeah.
and things like that, they usually don't get the kind of reach that they should. Because लोगों को ज्ञान नहीं सुनना है. Okay, simple as that. But वो ज्ञान सुनना बहुत जरूरी है.
I'm laughing because we're having this conversation.
Yeah. And no one wants to hear it is what I'm saying. So it is very important and I think it should start from a young age. Schools में ये सिखाना चाहिए. Because if you look at our parents, right? Now I'm seeing, let's say my mom, she has issues with her knee or her hand has started hurting from years and years of wear and tear of the joints with very little protein intake, with very little importance on, strength training.
Yeah.
Because they just never thought about it. And abhi, it's like, you bolte na, prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
If you don't have the knowledge that you should have about health and fitness at a young age, you are going to end up in your 50s and 60s with a lot of these problems which can't easily be fixed. That awareness is lacking. And I really think that awareness should start from school. If not school, then college mein to ye hona hi chahiye.
Yeah. Like my parents and even some of my relatives now, they have been told by doctors that you need more protein in your diet.
Yeah.
So my dad actually drinks that nada.
Yeah?
Yeah. So which
Nice.
is why I need to like stay away from him. I'm just kidding. But he is like, he's not gone fully like the protein route because he's so not used to it and that volume of protein into his diet that 300 ml drink, he drinks it in like with 4 meals, which I'm like, bro, that's not helping you. Because that's like only 5 grams of protein extra per meal. Because for him, I'm also, once that mindset is in place by the time you're 50 or 60, at that point, to completely add something so different to your diet is a big like unlearning and relearning.
Yeah.
So when you wait for so long, it's really difficult.
And I think with time, what has happened is the fear about protein is decreasing. There was a time when people were like, protein zyada khayenge, kidney kharab ho jayegi.
Especially the powder.
Yeah. But whey protein, for anyone who doesn't know, is extracted from milk. Safe to consume. It's just sometimes supplement industry mein, there's a little bit of mixing that happens. So that is a different topic altogether. But whey protein in its pure form is safe to be consumed. It's a great source of protein, and I think everyone should be consuming it if you're not able to get protein from your meals. I always encourage, like in the past also, I've always encouraged you also to try to get your protein in through food. And
As
then if
much
it
as
doesn't
possible,
happen,
yeah.
then the supplement is called a supplement for a reason.
Exactly. So, one more thing since we're talking about all this, food is a big thing.
Yeah.
And with food, you have cravings, you have macro targets,
Yeah.
and you have a lot of people have like food addictions. A lot of people like are so used to eating unhealthy.
Yeah.
So by the way, I want to point out that she's a nutritionist, but she brought these fat, tasty cookies. Lina's. By the way, this is our friend Lina's cookies. It's really good. You should try it. Just type this on Instagram. So you brought this with you.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this before time. So what is your stance on diet and balancing it out and like maybe not completely stopping yourself from those cravings?
You know what? The biggest misconception people have is if you're trying to look a certain way or you're chasing a fitness goal, you're only going to be eating grilled chicken with white rice and
Yeah.
stir-fried broccoli,
Yeah.
which I cannot imagine eating.
Yeah.
But that's not true. First of all, unless you are an elite athlete
Yeah.
who has certain goals, let's say you're Virat Kohli, right?
Yeah.
He quit eating chole bhature, like cold turkey, because he looked at himself in the mirror and he's like, yeah, you don't look like an international level athlete. This is what he said in one of his interviews. And that's when he's like, okay, for my performance, I need to do this. And he decided to make that sacrifice. Thankfully, for a lot of us,
Yeah.
we're not Virat Kohli. Or we're not like competitive athletes in any sport, including bodybuilding. So if you are, this advice is not for you. In that situation, you do need to take extreme measures. But even then, it's usually seasonal. It's usually leading up to a competition, right? But for the majority of us who just want to look fit, okay, we want to have a decent amount of body fat on us, we want good performance, there is absolutely no need to cut out anything from your diet unless you have medical conditions that require you to. So assuming that you are a perfectly fit individual with no medical conditions that restrain you from eating cookies, eat the cookie.
Okay, let's eat the cookie.
Let's eat the cookie. As you can see, I've already eaten a bit of mine. Actually, let's get Karan's reaction on this cookie because our friend recently started this and I think it's freaking amazing.
Very nice.
Right?
Really good. Chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So eat the cookie.
Eat the cookie. At the same time, don't eat 12 cookies
Yeah.
in a single sitting.
I have that problem, by the way, because I absolutely love chocolate.
Yeah.
And I get this from my mom, who, for the same reason, quit eating chocolate like 30 years back. Or actually, no, she quit eating after I was born, so it can't be 30 years back. But if there's a bunch of chocolate at home, I will just finish it.
This is actually a very important point. I have had a client in the past
Yeah.
who was addicted to eating chips. So if there were chips in the house,
Is that client my sister?
I don't remember. So this client of mine would really struggle with chips.
Yeah.
So if there were chips in the house, she just physically could not hold back from eating it. So in her situation, the advice was don't bring chips into the house. But let's say for me, I also love chocolate. I love cookies.
Yeah.
But so every time we buy these cookies from Lina's,
Yeah.
we always buy a box of 9. But Tarun and I don't eat all 9 in a single seating because we are able to restrain ourselves. या फिर उतना strong craving हमें नहीं आता. Wherein, we'll eat 6 in a row.
Yeah.
But for people who have the natural predisposition to have these kind of, this lack of control, in their case, it may be better to refrain from bringing it at home. So again, the approach changes from person to person. And that's why I cannot give general advice because the amount of the intensity of my craving towards a cookie may not be the same as someone else's, right? So you've got to identify that for yourself. At the same time, don't cut it out completely because then that is probably going to make you want it more.
Right.
And if you are someone who has this problem of, not being able to hold back, and you still want to bring the cookie into your house, here's what you can do. start tracking your meals. Again, tracking doesn't necessarily work for everyone. For me, I am a data-driven person, and when I see that my macros are full, I'm able to hold myself back from eating more, right? So whether that it creates like a guilt, what do you call it? It makes me feel guilty, and this happens with a lot of people. So if you track this cookie, I'm guessing one cookie is probably 200 or 250 calories on average, and you can fit it into your macros. Then eat it, and you're not going to feel any guilt because you have factored that into your plan for the day.
Right.
But if you have absolutely no idea of how you're eating on a daily basis, you could eat this cookie and think you have completely derailed your fitness journey and go off track for the next 6 months, which is not necessary. Even on a day where, let's say, you ate 3 cookies accidentally, it's fine. A lot of people, the next day, they're like, "Aaj main sirf soup piyunga," ya fir "Aaj I'm only going to have salads because I cheated on my diet yesterday."
Yeah.
Don't do that. Get back on track. That's it. And in the long run, you'll realize these are just small hiccups that don't really define your fitness journey.
Wow. So moral of the story is eat the cookie.
Eat the cookie.
Eat Leena's cookie. Let us know if you guys enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to see more of this kind of content, drop it in the comment section. Drop everything. Drop your kids, drop your wife, drop your mom. And like, subscribe, share.
Comment bhi kar do yaar.
Yeah, comment. Share the reel with your mother because you want her to live a long life. And your dad.
And if you want to see Karan hosting this kind of an episode again, let us know. Just comment.
Karan.
Karan is awesome. And you'll see him in the next one.